What's up everybody, Chaps here. Today I've got a special ChapsMath video. Due to the many comments from the Horde guides, which you should check out by the way, but in particular the Heavy class guide, I've done some weapon testing. As you may recall, in the Heavy guide, I mentioned that the heavy weapon damage card is pretty pointless. A lot of you gave me crap about that, pointing out that the Salvo really puts in work. So, me being me, what did I do? I tested it. So to test this, I started up Casual Horde on wave 47, where I'd have a constant supply of Scion buzzkills. For each test I did, I would damage the buzzkill and then let him kill me, so I can see how many shots hit him and how much damage that did. From there, I'm able to calculate the damage per shot. Each scenario that I wanted to test, I did 4 to 5 times and then took an average of the values. I then took many recordings of myself shooting the different weapons and analyzed them frame by frame to determine how many shots per second they have. So now, with damage per shot and shots per second for each scenario, I can easily figure out the damage per second, or DPS. I also wanted to point out that these values aren't exactly damage values. This is just the percent health of a Scion buzzkill on Casual wave 47 that is done. Because we can't actually see damage values, I just needed to pick an enemy and use that as a baseline for my results. Alright, but enough with that boring stuff. Let's hop in and take a look at the results. Let's begin with the simple test, the base Lancer. Here, I active reloaded, as most people would, and got a majority body shots, with maybe the occasional headshot. As you can see, each shot is doing only about 2.23% damage. It has a nice rate of fire though, so it adds up quickly to be about 29% per second. Not too many people would be in this situation though, so let's see what it looks like for a soldier. Here, you can see that with a properly equipped soldier, you can put out about 71% per second at a normal range. This assumes that you have the active reload card and the assault rifle damage card equipped. You could even get this up a little bit more if you're closer, or if you get more headshots, but I figured this was a nice enough number to get a baseline. This might even run a little bit high because of how close I was. In reality, you're probably going to be a little bit further away than these values that I predicted. So yeah, when playing as a soldier, the Lancer actually isn't a terrible option. It's much better than I thought. I'd ignore it for the most part with other classes, but if you have decent perks, it can be pretty nice, especially considering the fact that it's free. It's not going to cost you any money to upgrade, repair, or refill ammo. Now, let's take a look at the turrets. This took quite a long time to test, but it's really nice to finally have some answers to the many questions. So here's what we have. If you have no perks on, sort of like what most non-heavy classes would run, this is how much damage you do. Now, let's bump it up. If you're running a turret build heavy class, you'll do this much. Note that the blue values are that of the base damage, and the red values represent what's possible with a maxed heavy build. For this build, it assumes that you have the turret damage and the mark damage cards on. And as you can see, you essentially do double the base damage. To the point of our other Horde guides, take a look at this level 4 turret. That's a crazy amount of DPS you have going there. But now, lastly, let's take a look at these salvo numbers. This has by far been one of the most requested things for me to look at. So, with a base salvo, i.e. no perks on, you're going to be doing about 22.5% per shot at a rate of just under 3 shots per second. This gives you a DPS of about 66% per second. If we add in the explosive damage, heavy weapon damage, and mark damage perks that you're going to be running as a heavy, you're now going to be outputting about 197% per second. That is crazy. And I'll eat my words on that one. This one is definitely putting out more damage than that level 4 turret. The Salvo does in fact have the highest DPS, by about 25% per second, according to my baseline enemy that is. Another interesting note about the Salvo that I discovered in my testing is that splash damage is just as powerful as a direct impact. This makes it really nice and crazy effective for taking out some big groups. But wait, let's not just switch everything over to the Salvo yet. Let's take a look at some of the other factors. First off, let's take a look at all these damage values I got and put them in order. I'm not going to step through this one by one, but if you're interested, go ahead and pause the video and check these out. The results were actually quite surprising to me. So let's take a look at what this all means. Something that's very shocking to me, and I still find it kind of hard to believe, is that the soldier is better off using a Lancer until the turrets hit level 4. Take this with a grain of salt though, because this ignores reload time and it assumes that all shots are active. In reality, I would expect that the soldier would probably be better off getting on the turret around level 3. Now for the big comparison, the reason that you guys wanted me to make this salvo versus turret video. It's quite clear that the salvo is going to put out more DPS, but in my opinion, that doesn't make it the clear winner. Let's take a look at the pros and cons of each. Salvos are relatively inexpensive. You can get them from enemies or loot boxes, or hell, you can even buy them from the fabricator. To keep them stocked, all you need is weapons locker, which is a one-time cost and still much cheaper than a turret. Also, as I mentioned earlier, the fact that it has strong splash damage makes it so that it can easily clear out groups. A downside of the salvo is that you need to be careful with managing the shots, or you could accidentally lose your salvo. Also, think about the way the damage is put out. You have a projectile type weapon, which can lead to two primary issues. First, it takes time to travel. Granted, it's not much, but it could hinder performance. The second downside of the projectile is that it's limited in accuracy and range. While the turret provides essentially a straight instantaneous shot, the salvo starts to become less accurate at distance. Now, for the turret. The turret certainly costs more, both upfront and the maintenance cost. It also does slightly less DPS, but really not by that much. Here's where I think the turret gets a slight advantage though. Turrets output a damage in a much more constant stream of damage, as opposed to the slow but powerful shots of the salvo. This allows you to better manage your ammunition and only fire what is needed, without going overkill on something. Combine this with the fact that you probably have multiple heavy classes playing, they may both shoot a salvo at the same guy, when really all that's needed is half a salvo. So there, you wasted essentially 1.5 salvos worth of damage, while with the turret you'd be able to accurately stop when you need to stop. Oh, and not to mention that when you run out of shots, you need to take a decent break and waddle over to the weapons locker for a new salvo. Another large perk of the turret is placement and cover. In my opinion, turrets are more versatile. You can put them practically wherever you want, as opposed to the salvos where you pretty much need to find a piece of cover to shoot over. That's a small aspect of cover, but let's not forget about the big one, and that's incoming damage. As you may all recall from the soldier guide I did, when you're on a turret, you get about a 40% reduction in incoming damage. That lets you stay in the action much longer and gives you a much smaller chance of getting downed. Okay, so there's the overview, but what's my general conclusion? Well, personally, I'm going to stick with turrets, but I do see a place for the salvos. On most maps, I think turrets are going to be best, but maps like Clock Tower with an extremely nice funnel, the salvo will prove to be very useful. Additionally, I believe that salvos will be very beneficial for boss waves. I'm probably going to start keeping some salvos lying around for the heavies to use on boss waves. The DPS isn't that much higher on a salvo, but with something as strong as a boss, every little bit counts. So there you have it. Both are excellent choices, and I don't think one really stands out as the best. It really comes down to your personal preference. Also, I want to give a big thank you to all of you watching. I had no idea the salvo was actually this powerful, and it's great to see comments leading me to test something like this. This channel is all about creating content that will benefit the community, so any suggestions like this are always appreciated. Along those lines, if there's any other topics you want us to cover, just let me know. As always, if you found this helpful, likes and subs are appreciated. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter and check our website for more ChapsMath and Horde Guide videos. And until next time, thanks for watching.